Okay, guys, so welcome back to my top 10 Marvel Superheroes countdown. For those wondering what this is, if you didn't see the first video of my number 10 pick, Beta Ray Bill, what this is a countdown of my top 10 favorite Marvel superheroes, and rather than just do one big video, I decided to do like separate videos to talk about each character during the countdown, rather than just be like, hey, here's a couple reasons, and moving on. So I thought it'd be fun to go a little more in-depth with the list. And as always with these lists, I would like to stress that, yeah, these are just my personal favorites. If you think a character should be higher or lower or not in the list at all, totally fine. I got no problem with you. These are just my personal picks. So, yeah, let's get started with, we did number 10, which was Beta Ray Bill, and now we move on to number 9, Venom. But not Eddie Brock Venom. Nope, I'm talking Flash Thompson Venom. Now, Flash Thompson Venom, oh boy, we got a lot to talk about with Flash. Flash is an interesting character in that, here's a character who had some major character evolution throughout, just in Spider-Man's lore. You know, this is a guy who went from being a bully to being a soldier to, being, you know, a friend, and even as I recall, he was the best man at Mary Jane and Peter's wedding. Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, I think Flash was the best man. And then he went from then he went overseas. He went, got his legs blown. He lost his legs. He fell into alcoholism, and then got the Venom symbiote, and from there became a secret agent for the government. Now, admittedly, I was like, what the hell are they gonna, this sounds like such an insane idea. But as I read the comic, and let's face it, Rick Remender's Venom run is one of the coolest things to come out of, Marvel. This comic was this really took the character of Flash Thompson and made him into something more than just, hey, let's stick the Venom symbiote on somebody new so we can get new readers. Although that was probably the main thinking, but Rick Remender took that idea and went, nah, fam, I'm gonna, do some cool stuff. So, yeah. Flash Thompson, like I said, is one of the most well-developed characters in Spider-Man's supporting cast. And to make him Venom was such an interesting choice. But at the same time, when you read it and when you understand the context, you really feel for it. And I'm gonna be honest, I prefer Flash Thompson as Venom more than Eddie Brock. I know, total heresy. And don't get me wrong, I do like Donny Cates' Venom run with Eddie Brock in it. Don't misunderstand me. I actually really dig Donny Cates' Venom, but and Eddie Brock, I don't really have a lot of hate for Eddie Brock. I don't have a hate for him. He just really came out in an era, in the 90s when it was like, oh, let's be edgy and dark and cool, and, that's it, no real character development. So Eddie Brock did come out of that era of, let's make, edgy 90s heroes and nothing else. Like, let's just do that. That was the problem. But Eddie Brock has become more of an interesting character over the years, and yeah, Cates' run has made it because the run before when Eddie got his symbiote back with Mike Carey, that whole run made me go, this doesn't warrant Eddie Brock getting the symbiote back. This doesn't feel like it was warranted. But to have, Eddie come back, but I'm talking enough about Eddie. Point being, Flash Thompson really made the symbiote his own. In fact, he helped calm it after being bonded to Eddie and Mac and so many other people who were psychotic and filled with anger and just filled with what the symbiote was, Venom. Flash calmed the symbiote and made it, he made it change its ways. Like, they bonded and became, they depended on one another. At first it was an addiction for Flash, which, by the way, Flash's addiction to alcoholism was handled really well in the comics, I thought, at least, that Flash's addiction to, his alcoholism, as well as, his mental health during the military, and dealing with all of that himself was handled very well. Like, Rick Remender really does understand, mental health. As opposed to Tom King, who, I like Tom King, but I gotta be honest, Heroes in Crisis still irked me the wrong way. Just throwing that out there. So yeah, so it was cool to see, cool to see Flash deal with that kind of mental trauma, as well as deal with the trauma he felt, being abused by his father, and coming back to dealing with toxic relationships, and his own toxic relationship he had with Betty, who he didn't really have he wasn't she wasn't the toxic one. Let me state that Betty Brant wasn't the toxic one. He was the toxic one, and not just because he had the Venom symbiote. It was because he was dealing with alcoholism, he was keeping the secret of being the new Venom from her, he was dealing with a lot, and he really did take it out on her, unfortunately. And that's unfortunately, that's what I liked about Flash, was that he wasn't this perfect, guy, even though he was trying to do everything right, he went about it doing everything wrong. He really did. He really felt like a human character. For a guy with an alien parasite all over him, he really did feel like this very human character who just wanted to do good, but for him it was like one step forward, two steps back for him, and I really sympathized with that. I really sympathized with Flash's kind of dilemma of being this character who was like, trying to do all this good, but it always kind of blew up in his face, whether it be through his own problems or, through his own, dealing with, if it was outside, outside of his control, or if he was just kind of being that kind of self-destructive because he didn't know how to, communicate with people. So, yeah, I really do sympathize with that, because sometimes I have trouble communicating with people when I'm dealing with my own problems. So, I really did sympathize with Flash in that regard. So that's what I really connected with, and that's what really made me go, you know what? Flash Thompson as Venom, I like it. I dig this new angle, and I like it. And he took the Venom symbiote to places we never thought he'd go. He was an Avenger. Granted, he was a secret Avenger, but hey, he was an Avenger all the same. So that was pretty cool. And like I said, he managed to keep the symbiote, from going insane. He managed to help the symbiote, and the symbiote managed to help him, because no matter what, he still had the symbiote itself to fall back on. He still had all of that to, ground himself, and the symbiote in turn had Flash to ground itself and learn from Flash. That's what I really dug as well, is that they had this perfect symbiosis, maybe even more so than Brock did, him and Eddie Brock did. So that's what I really dug, was this cool kind of perfect example of symbiosis, and that was a really neat angle for them to play with. And again, he felt like a very human character, despite being, attached to... And that was another... Oh yeah, I forgot, he was also in the Guardians of the Galaxy. Granted, it was a run that I didn't care for, but still, it was cool to see him on the Guardians of the Galaxy, nonetheless. But still, I felt that Flash Thompson as a character was really great, and again, to see him become Venom and to see it taken away was really kind of disappointing, to see him lose the Venom symbiote, which I unfortunately knew was going to happen at some point or another, because Marvel can't help but go back to status quo at any given time. But still, it was cool, and now apparently, as I recall, Norman Osborn killed Flash in the Amazing Spider-Man comics. So Flash is unfortunately dead after he became Agent Anti-Venom, which was a neat little, a nice little return to see him become, still have that Agent Venom, but be Agent Anti-Venom, which made sense of him taking on that identity. But yeah. But again, like I've always said, death in comics is pretty much power napping. So, there you go. Hopefully we can see Flash Thompson become, become Agent Venom or Venom again, who knows, time will tell. So, but yeah, as it stands, I kind of dug him more than I did with Eddie with the symbiote. But, all the same, it is cool thanks to Donny Cates' writing. He really makes it feel like, now I understand why Eddie is back with the symbiote as opposed to Mike Carey's run. Which was total bullshit, by the way. But thankfully, Cates has made me go, okay, now it feels warranted that Eddie has the symbiote again. That makes sense. But again, this is, like I said, this is my list, and this is just how I personally feel. So you guys tell me in the comments below, what do you guys think of Flash Thompson as Venom? And like I said, this is just my personal list. If you think a character should be higher or lower, that's totally fine. No ill will against you. This is just how I personally view these characters, and this is just my list. And I'm always excited to hear yours. But once again, I hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.